What if, in the very next second, Earth suddenly stopped spinning? No warning, no slowing down, just an instant, absolute halt. Right now, you are moving through space at incredible speed, carried by the rotation of the planet beneath your feet. At the equator, that speed reaches over 1,000 miles per hour. You don't feel it because everything around you, the ground, the air, the oceans, is moving with you in perfect balance. But the moment that motion stops, that balance is shattered. The Earth would stop, but everything on its surface would keep going. In a fraction of a second, the world would descend into chaos. Anything not firmly anchored to the ground would be hurled violently eastward at immense speeds. Buildings wouldn't just collapse, they would be torn apart. Skyscrapers would twist and disintegrate as their foundations fail under sudden, unimaginable force. Roads would rip open, vehicles would be flung through the air, and entire Almudden would be reduced to debris almost instantly. The atmosphere, still carrying the momentum of Earth's rotation, would continue moving at catastrophic velocity, unleashing winds faster than the speed of sound. These winds would scour the surface of the planet, stripping away everything in their path. It wouldn't feel like a storm, it would feel like the sky itself is trying to erase the world. As this devastation unfolds on land, the oceans would become even more deadly. Water, like everything else, would continue moving at its original speed, surging across the surface in massive, unstoppable waves. Gigantic walls of water, hundreds of meters high, would rush toward the continents, creating megatsunamis unlike anything ever seen. Entire coastlines would vanish within minutes. Cities would be swallowed whole, buried beneath crushing waves that carry the force of a moving planet. The delicate balance that holds Earth's oceans in place would collapse, causing water to shift toward the poles. Some regions would be permanently flooded, transformed into endless seas, while others would be left dry and barren, stripped of life entirely. Beneath the surface, the Earth itself would begin to change. For billions of years, the planet's rotation has created a slight bulge at the equator. When that rotation stops, gravity begins to reshape the planet. The equatorial bulge would slowly collapse, redistributing mass across the globe. This process would unleash immense geological stress, triggering powerful earthquakes that ripple across continents. Tectonic plates would shift violently, grinding against each other in unpredictable ways. Volcanoes would erupt across the planet, releasing pressure from deep within the Earth's core. Entire landscapes would be transformed in a matter of hours. Mountains could rise, valleys could sink, and the ground beneath your feet would no longer feel stable. The Earth would become a dynamic, shifting world, constantly reshaping itself in response to its new reality. As the physical destruction begins to settle, a new and terrifying condition would take hold. The cycle of day and night would cease to exist. If Earth continues orbiting the Sun without spinning, one side of the planet would be locked in constant daylight, while the other would remain in permanent darkness. On the sunlit side, temperatures would rise to extreme levels. Without the cooling effect of night, heat would build relentlessly. Oceans would begin to evaporate, turning vast regions into dry, cracked wastelands. The land would scorch under continuous sunlight, and survival would become nearly impossible. On the opposite side, the absence of sunlight would create a frozen world. Temperatures would drop far below freezing, turning entire continents into icy deserts. Water would freeze, ecosystems would collapse, and life would struggle to endure in the darkness. Between these two extremes, there would exist only a narrow band, a twilight zone where the sun sits permanently on the horizon. In this region, conditions might be just stable enough to support life, but even here, survival would not be easy. The atmosphere would begin to behave in unfamiliar and dangerous ways. Without rotation, the global wind patterns that once distributed heat and moisture around the planet would collapse. Air on the hot, sunlit side would heat up rapidly, creating areas of low pressure. This air would then flow toward the cold, dark side, where it would cool and sink.
This constant movement would generate powerful, unending winds that sweep across the twilight zone. Storm systems would form and persist indefinitely, driven by the extreme temperature differences between the two halves of the planet. Hurricanes would no longer come and go, they would become permanent features of the environment. Breathing itself could become difficult in certain regions. As atmospheric circulation changes, the distribution of oxygen and other gases could shift, creating areas where the air is thin or unstable. The sky, once a source of comfort and familiarity, would become a constant reminder of the planet's instability. Clouds would behave differently, storms would dominate the horizon, and the balance that once supported life would be gone. For humanity, the immediate consequences would be catastrophic. The initial moments of destruction would claim billions of lives. Entire cities would be wiped out, and the infrastructure that supports modern civilization would collapse almost instantly. Power grids would fail, communication systems would go silent, and transportation networks would be destroyed. The world would be plunged into a state of complete disorder. Yet, despite the overwhelming devastation, some humans might survive. Those in underground shelters, remote locations, or specially designed facilities could endure the initial chaos. Over time, survivors might begin to adapt to the new world. The twilight zone, the narrow region between extreme heat and extreme cold, would become the most viable place for life to continue. Here, small communities could form, relying on whatever resources remain. Advanced technology might offer temporary solutions, allowing humans to create controlled environments where they can grow food, purify water, and maintain stable living conditions. But life would never return to what it once was. The familiar rhythms of day and night would be gone, replaced by a constant, unchanging sky. The environment would remain hostile, with powerful winds and unpredictable weather shaping daily life. Resources would be limited, and survival would depend on careful planning, cooperation, and resilience. Humanity would be forced to adapt not just physically, but mentally, to a world that no longer follows the rules it once did. Over time, new forms of society might emerge. Smaller, more self-sufficient communities would replace large cities. Technology would become both more important and more scarce, as maintaining advanced systems would be difficult in such an unstable environment. Knowledge would become one of the most valuable resources, as survivors work to understand and adapt to the planet's new conditions. But even with all of humanity's resilience, the question would remain: how long could we truly survive on a planet that has changed so fundamentally? The Earth would no longer be the stable, life-supporting world it once was. It would be a place of extremes, where survival is never guaranteed, and every day is a challenge. All of this would begin in a single moment. One instant where the Earth stops spinning and everything else keeps going. A single change in motion would trigger a chain reaction that transforms the planet from a place of life into a world of chaos and survival. It's a reminder that the forces shaping our world are delicate, balanced in ways we often take for granted. Because the truth is, Earth's rotation is more than just a movement through space. It is the foundation of the environment that allows life to exist. It shapes our climate, controls our weather, and creates the cycle of day and night that defines our experience of time. Without it, the world doesn't just change, it becomes something entirely different. And in that moment, when the spin stops and the silence begins, the question is no longer what would happen to the Earth, but whether anything could truly survive at all.